of British colonialism. And the fact remains that many of today's problems in these countries, including the persistence, in some cases the creation of racial and ethnic and religious tensions, were the direct result of the colonial experience. So there is a moral debt that needs to be paid. Someone challenged reparations elsewhere. Well, I'm sorry, Germany doesn't just give reparations to Israel. It also gave reparations to Poland. Perhaps some of the speakers here are too young to remember the dramatic picture of Chancellor Willy Brandt on his knees in the Warsaw Ghetto in 1970. And there are other examples. There is Italy's reparations to Libya. There's Japan's to Korea. Even Britain has paid reparations to the New Zealand Maoris. So it's not as if this is something unprecedented or unheard of that's going to somehow open some sort of nasty Pandora's box. No wonder Professor Lewis reminded us that he's from Texas. There's a wonderful expression in Texas that summarizes the arguments of the opposition: all hat and no cattle. Now,
will New Yorkers ask their meetings to be preponed, and will tanned Torontonians describe their complexion as wheatish?
Wheatish, oh, that's a good one.
Do you think that these words will find their way into the rest of the world?
No, actually no. I'll tell you what, one of the strengths as well of English is the fact that there are so many regional variants. That, there's a very distinctive Australian English, which even New Zealanders can tell apart from a New Zealander's English, though we probably can't. And there are real distinctions between the English spoken around London and the English spoken around Yorkshire, let alone Scotland or Ireland. And all these variations have what makes it distinctive, and therefore Indian English has every right to be as distinctive as Irish English or American English. And it's curious, for example, that in India, at least for the longest time, I've not heard it much since returning to India, but when I left India, people still spoke in furlongs. How far are you away? Oh, it's just a couple of furlongs down the road. But no one in England has used furlong for 100 years. So we had a word in English. Yeah. Then there are these Indian words which don't exist in any Indian language and don't exist in any other form of the English language, like brinjal. Right. So in the Western world, it's eggplant, right? Yeah. And in India, there is no Indian language where it's called brinjal. It's called Bengan, it's called Vaidarinya in Malayalam, Begun in Bangla. Yeah. But you can't have anyone saying brinjal except in Indian English. Right. So where did it come from? I haven't looked it up. But the fact is, it's an Indian English word that only exists in Indian English.
What about ASTHMA?
Asthma. Yeah. I just see, people should lighten up a bit. Too many people get intimidated by the language, start mugging up dictionaries.
Which are the pronunciation and grammar errors that Indians typically make? Do you have certain ones which are your pet peeve and you'd like to correct the nation, because you are the English teacher to the nation unofficially?
No, well, the pet peeves are really pedantic ones, which I ought to outgrow. But I keep correcting my staff on two very common mistakes. One is the habit of using the word presently. This is not an Indian problem, it's a global problem. Yeah. Presently to mean now, whereas presently means soon. Yeah. So I'll be there presently is correct English. Yeah. But I'm doing this presently makes no sense, because presently does not mean I'm doing it now. Okay. It does not mean in the present or at the present or at present. Yeah. So that's one thing that I sometimes get irritated about. However, the thing about the English language is if you use a word wrongly widely enough, that'll become an accepted usage. The Americans, by the way, have a similar problem with momentarily. Correct. Because momentarily means for a moment. But the Americans use it to mean in a moment. Yeah. And so you can actually sort of talk about a pilot announcing in an airline that we will be airborne momentarily, and the English passenger has a heart attack because he thinks that means the plane is going to crash. He's only going to be in the air for a moment. Yeah. So the other one is importantly. Yeah. I don't think important needs a ly, because important is already an adverb. Yeah. So it's perfectly all right to say, most important, I believe such and such and such. Or there's this and this and that, and more important, this. Importantly is superfluous, Right. And it's an unnecessary addition. Right. Again, as I told you, I'm being a bit pedantic, so you don't have to worry about it.
What about words like revert?
Yeah, revert, and what is the other one? Yes, I shall revert to you, and the other one is Yes, please intimate me of your of your intentions or whatever. Yes.
So what is the
These are all Victorian English which stuck with us, but which the English stopped using in the same way.
Yeah, but I mean, my understanding of revert is to turn back into a former state, like ice reverts to water when it melts. So when people write to me that I will revert to you, I tell them you can't turn into me. Or turn back into me.
God, you are as much of a pedant as I am. Another very common one, again, not just India but everywhere, is confusing reluctant and reticent.
Right.
Reticent only means reluctant to speak.
Right.
It can't be used to mean generally reluctant.
Right.
You know, when I asked him this question, he was reticent, means that he was reluctant to speak it.
Yeah.
But to say that he was reticent to take 10 steps forward or whatever is wrong, because reticent is only about speaking, and reluctant is what people mean, but they confuse the two a lot. That's a global problem, not just an Indian problem.
So there are a few words that I'm going to spell out, and because everybody gets it wrong, and I want them to hear the correct. So this is about pronunciation. So the first word is pronunciation. What is the right and the wrong way of saying this word?
Pronunciation is correct.
Yeah, and not pronunciation.
Not pronunciation, no.
Yes.
Pronunciation. And it's actually linked to enunciation.
Right.
Which is to speak clearly.
Clearly, yeah.
And it's not linked to pronoun, which is where the confusion comes from.
Yes. And what about asthma?
Asthma.
Yeah. So asthma and not asthma.
No,
as
exactly.
said. And epitome.
Epitome.
Epitome and not epitome.
That's
And
right.
not hyperbole, but hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Yes. And just one more. Plumber.
Plumber.
Plumber and not plumber. So.
Though these are trivial mistakes, my dear English listeners.
What about the VW confusion? What is your take on it?
So that's actually partly because in most Indian languages there isn't a difference.
Right.
And therefore people who are comfortable in Indian languages often find themselves eliding one or the other.
Yeah.
So it's actually so common a mistake that, you know, it's almost embarrassing to point it out.
Yeah.
But in India, you might say adverb. Instead of say adverb, you might say adverb, etc.
So I had a teacher who said, bite your V's and kiss your W's. So
That's an interesting way of putting it.
So
yes.
you use your upper teeth on your lower lip and say very. And
That's right.
And then make the duck face, which is one of the millennial words. Duck
Wolf.
face. Wolf. Yeah. So that's it. Okay, now I'm going to...
Very good. I like that. Bite your V's and kiss your
Kiss your
W's.
W's.
Good. A lesson to teach my grandson one day.
Is there something that you would like to say about the English language or the way Indians speak English or anything else relating to English or English in India?
No, I just see, people should lighten up a bit. I mean, unfortunately, too many people get intimidated by the language, start mugging up dictionaries. Honestly, that's utterly pointless to my mind. To my mind, what happens with the language is you use it to communicate,
Right.
you use it to express ideas, you use it to give and gain pleasure. If all of that is not happening, then you don't need it.
Right.
So to my mind, if you're coming across words in books that you don't know, read more books, you'll find out what they mean. Don't mug up dictionary.